Broadcasting live from the CKTB studios in Niagara, it's the Kevin Jack Show.
Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Dial emergency number. Still love you like that.
Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582.
Yeah, man.
Or text Kevin with your thoughts and opinions at 61010.
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannon. And for KJ, 5 to 7 today, finish out the week. Live programming here on 610 CKTB. Live from 12 Yates Street. Got a Ram show for you again today. Coming up on the show, Shane Christopher Neal. Okay, Shane Neal, local promoter, artist, jock. BSLiveRocks.com. He's got a little live radio station going on there. Full local event listings. Remember Pulse Magazine? When you used to be able to open that sucker up on Thursday afternoon. You remember Pulse came, hit the streets, you had your Pulse girl up front, and then all the listings, you knew where everyone was playing. So taking a page out of the Pulse Magazine that hasn't been around for a little while and putting all the event listings in one place, BSLiveRocks.com. He's got a promotion company as well for himself there. Couple things we're going to hit on this show today. Are you trying to sell your house privately? Seriously, I stay away from real estate stuff because I'm an agent and I just don't find it all that interesting, but I did sneak into a certain private company's presentation some time ago, actually. Me and a buddy realtor snuck in and sat at the back. I don't think this guy was a realtor. I don't think you got to be qualified to be a realtor to pitch that concept, sell your house privately, and pay us some money to do it, commission free. But there are some misconceptions in the industry if you do decide. I mean, if you just put the sign out in your garage, you go down to the home hardware store and grab a sign and write your phone number on it, put it on your lawn. I get it. But if you're paying for services that you're not exactly getting, then maybe we need to talk about it. So we'll go down that road. We'll talk about it. Are you trying to sell your house privately? And if you are, you'll see me soon, probably. And then, 6 o'clock, Straight Talk with Alex Pierson is the show on Sun News Network. I watch Sun News Network once in a while. And usually, I catch one of these far right-wing wackos, and I got to buy a new television afterwards. Ezra Levant. I tripped on him when Sun News was just new. I was, scanning the channels and stopped on Political Talk. It looked good, nice set, handsome man. And then he opened his mouth and I am not a fan of the hard right. And once in a while I'll put it on, and usually it ends up in massive frustration for myself. Alex Pierson does a show with the aforementioned network. She came up through CHCH TV, started years ago. CKVR, I think she was with, CP24, City TV. Now she's at Sun. You might know Alex Pierson as the girl that, before anyone knew she was pregnant, was doing her show with her co-host, and they watched a Budweiser commercial that was supposed to be funny. And during the commercial, while they were away, she broke down in tears and then came back and said, "What do you want? I'm a hormonal mess. I'm pregnant." And everyone went, "What? She announced it by accident on air. She didn't get pregnant by accident on air. So Alex Pierson will come in at 6 o'clock. She describes herself as socially progressive, so she says we'll probably have a lot to agree on. But based on my conversation with her leading up to this interview, I'd say we got a whole lot of room to disagree. But we had a really good conversation, so I'm looking forward to that. She wanted to hit on the lacking of integrity in our political system today. I couldn't agree more. asked her if she preferred electoral reform because of it. I didn't think she went that far. But we will talk everything politics, talk about a little bit about the leadership of the Provincial Conservative Association. She describes herself as a news chick. I thought that was cool. And a conservative, but not a loyal one. And when I asked her if Justin Trudeau was truly a bag of hammers, she said, yes. Not smart. So we're going to hit that at 6 o'clock. But coming up next, Bobby Rock and Shane Neal do a show called BS Live Rocks on bsliverocks.com. Event listings and a promo company. We're going to talk to Shane Neal after this break in the Kevin Jack Show. I'm Jim Fannon on 610 CKTB.
Listening to the Kevin Jack Show, only on the one voice for Niagara, News Talk 610 CKTB. Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text us your opinion to 61010.
And when I do, my mind starts to reel. Is this the way that I should feel?
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannon, covering for KJ. Last day today, closing out your week. Happy Friday. It's a beautiful day out there today. Shane Christopher Neal. How the hell are you, brother?
I'm impressed with you right now.
Oh, that's what everyone says when they sit over there.
Listen, you have a beautiful studio. You have a producer over here.
This is 1950s over here,
This is awesome. You've got a television up here watching soccer.
Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's no TV in here. Sorry about that.
I only say this is 1950s over here because someone took me next door yesterday, and it's pimp.
Yeah.
It looks all shiny and
yeah,
new and
this
stuff.
isn't shiny, but
Don't
it's still
tell
cool.
anyone. I went to the studio next door. I thought you get killed if you walked through there. Shane Neal is bsliverocks.com. What are you doing over there other than making listings?
Well, legally or illegally? You know what? At bsliverocks.com, it's all part of the BS Live Rocks Entertainment Group. So what happens is my partner, Bobby Rock, and I, we decided, you had mentioned before about Pulse Magazine, finding local listings. So we decided, you know what, we need a place for people to go check out local listings. And that's kind of how it all started. We started doing videos at the beginning because we were stupid.
So you're doing videos of you guys actually going through the
listings.
websites or whatever,
yeah,
the
well, actually,
or whatever?
He did all the work ahead of time because I have no time. And we showed up at a bar and we just decided to read them and video stuff and be silly. And then so many people commented on them. But they were a lot of work.
Posting it, YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. And at that time, it was just YouTube till we got our website. And then when we got the website, we still were doing these silly videos. But people, the problem was that you would put a listing up, and if they missed what they wanted to hear, they had to go back and watch the video again, right? Because there's nowhere for them to read it.
Logistically, it was a problem.
Right. So even though it was fun.
A lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, but a lot of work.
People loved it. But they're like, what was that?
Let's fix that problem. So Bobby Rock's pretty good at technology, and we created bsliverocks.com. And so now we don't do silly videos. You can actually go on, and it's broken down by date, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever date there might be some live music, and it's all listed there. So you can check it out in Southern Niagara. A lot of the bands that we have listed are cover bands, because most of our venues in Niagara are geared towards cover bands, but it doesn't preclude us from putting original acts on there, obviously, and where they're playing. So we do that as well. But he does all the work, and I do the radio interviews. That's the best.
Yeah, who have you been landing?
Well, we've got, we talked to, and I know you've talked to the boys in Step Echo.
Yeah, they played the show there a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
Great band. Drummer's kind of... Hamilton, yeah.
He's we won't talk about him. But
contractor.
Okay. We've been fortunate enough to get some interviews on our radio program through MaxSync Radios, where we do it. and we've hooked up with some management companies, one being Audio Blood out of Toronto.
Yeah, they helped me out quite a bit with some contacts at
Great
Scene.
company.
Yeah.
Great company.
They came through for me at Scene Fest for sure.
And in fact, if I could, or we could mold what we're doing on a much smaller scale, it would be what Audio Blood does, except they do band management and stuff. But
Yeah,
at
and
the
they're a
end,
big city.
right? And they're in a big city, but just the connections that they have, and they put us onto the Balconies, which if the Balconies are an awesome band, they're on tour right now with Head of the Herd.
Head of the Herd played here, right? I saw them live, actually. They played in Hits FM.
Right.
I'm like, are they covering this? I looked it up. No, they're live. Right in the studio. It was really cool, and then we got to see them at L3.
They're amazing.
Good Canadian band, too, right?
And the Balconies, amazing. And
they're opening for them on tour?
Yeah, on tour right
Nice.
now. And so we were able to score some of those interviews, and it's been a lot of fun. Like Bobby and I do the radio show together. We do it Thursday nights, and it's internet radio, but it's fun, and it allows us to
What do you
connect
mean,
with.
but it's internet radio? You guys go live, right? You're not taping it.
No, we go live, but
Right.
it's just people. I guess the question is, I got to go to a computer to log on. Like you can listen to 610.
I mean, I listen to AM on my phone. I never
I know.
internet radio. Who cares?
Can you
I don't
convince?
know.
Can you convince the people we talk to that
I
that's
don't know.
okay?
Really? There's a stigma about internet radio?
I just think that people are lazy, so they don't want to download an app, or it's inconvenient a little bit.
That's true.
Yeah.
I went there last night to listen to you.
See, and see, you were ticked off.
Well, I want to listen, and I said it must have been flash. So you got to have the TuneIn.
Yeah,
app
TuneIn Radio, and then you can get it. And the other thing is, some people just are busy in constant motion. So if they're in their vehicle or they're out somewhere, it's easier to tune your radio,
Right.
your terrestrial radio, click it on AM or FM and be able to listen to it. But regardless, we have a great time. It's all part of what we do with BS Live Rocks Entertainment Group.
Now, are you guys fully uncensored because it's internet radio, or you keep it G-rated?
No, you know what? We can do what we want, but we try to keep it as clean as we can. If we have people in our studio, so it's kind of like a party atmosphere, and we just try to keep control of the people that are in there and what they're saying. I just don't believe that vulgarity belongs anywhere, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter if it's the internet or terrestrial radio or anything. So,
Right.
There's some fun things and some things that are said that, might be a little bit on edge, but we try not to cross over that line too much.
Well, when you're talking to celebrities and bands, I mean, bands
Right.
have been notorious for letting things slide on air, and so is this host right here. If eventually something makes it to the air. But tell me who you've been lucky enough to land.
There's a guy by the name of Hicks out of Sweden, and he's a country artist. I thought it was interesting. The bio was a country rock artist, which is kind of the way that country's gone today. It's very rock, and we're interviewing him actually coming up next. What day? We're Friday, so next Thursday, and I'm excited about that. He's got a lot of cool songs. He's got a brand new single called "Hayride," and I'm a big country music fan. People look at me with tattoos and everything else.
You
and
must be leaning to the heavy rock, right? But then I see you
wearing a kilt.
Promote. I saw you wearing a kilt at Friendship Festival, and that's fine. But you're promoting the big music fest here in 2014. This is a straight up rock concert, right?
It is, and the best part about that. Now, I'm not suggesting that Aerosmith is not the biggest part of it, because they are the biggest act on Sunday, but it's the Breaking Band's happening on Friday, July the 11th.
Okay.
And Step Echo actually is the only band representing Southern Niagara in that. There's some bands out of Kitchener, London, plenty of bands out of Toronto. There's 25 that have made the finals out of, I don't know, there's like 1,500 plus bands sent in their MP3s, and Step Echo made their top 25. All the bands are playing on the Friday night, but we're part of the festivities in a small way. We're promoting it quite a bit. We're hooked up with R3 Media. Randy Rose, a good friend of ours, and he does all of the stuff for Big Music Fest. Like when I say stuff, websiting and all that stuff. Same with Canadian Music Week. So we try to hook up with some people that we can help out and that can help us out, because that's what it's all about in this industry.
Who are you using as venues mostly? I see Golden Brothers here. Are you working with Taps, and who else are you leaning on for venues?
You know what? Venues change, it seems, all the time. But North Rocks in Niagara Falls, they have some good staging and that there too. So anything that's happening over there, like Golden Brothers is got again, things out there are a lot different now than they used to be in the live music scene too, right? So
Shane Neal is my guest. BSLiveRocks.com. They're doing a live radio show there and event listings. I went to check it out today. It's pretty pretty extensive. I mean, you've got the names of the bands, the times, are the times that they're playing on there as well?
Some
names,
are.
bands,
Some are.
Locations.
Yeah.
Some information.
You can get hold of bars. The bar addresses are there. If you're in a band and you want to find out what bars to play, that's available as well. And there's a little bit on some of the stuff that's on our radio show. You'll find we'll promote some of those acts through our website as well, just to give them a little more exposure and people to understand more about what they're about and how to find their music and stuff like that.
Now, you mentioned the venues are changing. You know, is that because people are just getting away in and out of live music? I mean, we used to have the staples. And when I was growing up, Welland House, Welland House Hotel, Uncle Sam's.
I was going to say Uncle Sam's.
Music's all weekend, all the time.
Yeah.
So is it that people are just picking you up here and there as far as your artists go, or are you having people getting in and out of music?
And I think that less people
because, I mean, the Mansion House now is live music. They're dedicated to it. Pepper downstairs, you know, even Detour's doing a few things here. Mate's got their nights and things like that. But are you finding more venues, more people getting into it as far as the bars go?
It depends, but yes and no. Sometimes you get busy seasons, and sometimes they want nothing to do with live music.
Right on. Shane Neal's my guest. More with him right here on the Kevin Jack Show. I'm Jim Fannon on 610 CKTB.
Great talk, great debate. It's the Kevin Jack Show. Call now, 905-688-2582. Toll free at 1-877-610-2582. Or text Kevin with your thoughts and opinions at 61010. And now, back to the Kevin Jack Show.
Welcome back. I'm Jim Fannon. Shane Neal's with me in the booth. He is BS Live Rocks, live radio, internet event listings online for your local musicians. You can find out where they're playing, what nights. There's a cover, what time they go on,
how much they get paid.
Then a promo company too. So a local guy with his on-air personality, Bobby Rock, who couldn't make it in today. Shane, thanks for taking the time. Tell us a little bit about your events promo company.
Yeah, you know what? In building the BS Live Rocks Entertainment Group, part of what we wanted to do was getting into some event hosting, because we had found from playing in events, and we had played a number of them over the years, that a lot of the people were great at getting concessions, they were great at getting tents, and they were great at doing and getting beer, but they were not good at getting the bands. They didn't know how to organize them. They didn't know who to contact. They didn't know how to schedule them. They didn't know that people in bands are not nice and how to deal with them.
Their management are dicks.
Right. So what we decided to do was, go out and source out people that needed help in doing so. And the one that, was just recent was the Circle Niagara bike run, and we knew a couple of the people who were organizing it. It was in Welland a couple weeks ago there, and we got involved on the level of booking the bands, getting them to be comfortable with the time slot that they have, what they were getting or weren't getting to play the event. And it took all those responsibilities away from the people that were worrying about the beer and the tents and all that other stuff. So it worked in great partnership. We had some great success. It was pretty much flawless from both standpoints, from their standpoint and from ours in booking the bands. And we just decided, you know what, this is a great avenue to take to, one, get the people in bands to, play at some of these really cool events, and to also, take that burden away from the people that were trying to run these events. Because most of them are great at doing the event running, but when it came to bands, it was like, I don't really understand. Backline what? Sound guy? What are you talking about?
Right.
What do we need a sound guy for? So all those things are what we offer our clients. And we've got other ones coming up, and a little bit of a different angle, but I know we talked to Chris Curry from Sessions on the River.
Right. Great idea.
And we're not per se doing event planning there, but we are working on an event happening in August on the 16th. We're going to have 2 to 3 bands. We're still working on that right now, and we're going to bring them in. As you know, it streams live on live stream, and basically, get people to go to the event and recognize these bands, and taking, again, maybe the burden away from Chris of trying to find people to come, to play at his studio. So we're kind of doing a few different things with it, but I think it's a beneficial service. I think it's one that's needed, and through bsliverocks.com, which is our website, as you mentioned, you can find it. And our by the way, we have an email there, bsliverocks@gmail.com.
Right on.
So you can email us if you have any questions, or there's a section at the bottom of the webpage too you can fill out. And
so
we
when
can
you say host, it's a little misleading because when I hear host, I'm like, anyone can host. You just stand up on stage and MC. That's a host to me. So when you say host, you mean you're taking care of all of the details? You're
All the
planning
details.
it, promo,
Yep.
selling tickets,
All
loading
that.
the concessions,
Absolutely.
all the rentals, all the bands, everything.
Yeah, we're making sure everything gets looked after. So the event staff, if you will, when it comes to the music component, they don't worry about it.
So how do you get paid on that kind of stuff? Flat rate? Do you get
Yeah, just charge a flat rate and say it's X amount. And it depends on the event. It depends who it is. Depends how big or
how
small
much
it
pub
is.
you're going to get out
Yeah,
of it?
I mean, there's a lot of factors. But we also, because we're radio personalities, we also, in between the bands, do a little bit of a banter. And it's too bad Bobby's not here because we're completely
Yeah,
different
for sure.
We're completely different personalities. I'm edgy. I have tattoos. I say things I shouldn't. He apologizes for me and everybody
nice
else.
boy.
And he's the nice boy, right? So it's kind of a great yin and yang, if you will, and it kind of works out to be a little bit of humor, some entertainment, and hopefully some informative stuff that we do as well. So
Great job. August 16th, you mentioned. What else you got upcoming as far as events go?
we're actually part of an event, as I mentioned, we played in the band on August the 9th, I think it is, which is at Golden Brothers outside. And
You're
it's,
gigging?
we're-
Golden Brothers, August 9th?
And what it is there's a number of bands playing. It's called Rockin' for Hope 3. One of our good friends, Scotty Cooper, who does an Alice Cooper show.
Okay.
He's been doing this for 3 years now, and it's changed locations every year. Not because we blew up the other two, but just things change. And we're actually now at a bigger venue, and it's at Golden Brothers on Southworth in Welland. And I can't remember the top of my head. I think bands start at 2:30 or 3 on the 9th. They go until 11 outside, and then it goes...
Golden
into-
Brothers on Ontario?
It's by Ontario. Southworth is off Ontario.
Southward.
Yeah, but you're thinking that there's a restaurant called Golden Grill on Ontario.
Oh.
See, so
Golden
very
Brothers.
close.
No.
Same owner.
I'm thinking
though.
of the old Baba's
Baba's Kitchen.
Pierogi, Baba's Kitchen
Yes.
there on Ontario
Yes.
Road. Isn't that Golden
Yeah.
Grill now?
Yeah,
or
I think it's Golden Grill.
Brothers?
Yeah, Golden Grill. But Golden Brothers is down the road.
Same guys.
Same guys who own it. That's right.
Got it.
But that's where the event is, and there's a bunch of bands. Bobby and I play in a band called Sunset Strip, which is an 80s hair rock band, and yeah, we wear wigs and we look really silly, and but it's good.
Let's be entertaining. Shane Neal is my guest. He's bsliverocks.com, doing live radio show on Thursday nights, event listings if you want to check it out there. I guess they've got it all compiled nicely, too. I went there earlier and checked it out, and then a promo company. Shane, just on the way out, how do people get a hold of you? And
Yeah, you can reach us a lot of different ways. Obviously, the website, I mentioned the email, bsliverocks@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. I'm under Shane Christopher Neal, and Bobby
Very
R.
official.
Rock. Bobby R. Rock is Bobby's. And we also have a couple of pages. One is BS Live Rocks on the radio, and the other one is just BS Live Rocks. So that's all Facebook stuff. But we all know that Facebook rules the world. So that's how you can find us there. And I'm at Twitter too, Shane C. Neal 1. You can reach me a lot of different ways.
couldn't get it any more complicated. Shane, thanks very much for
All
coming
right,
in.
thank you so
Good
much.
to meet you again.
You're awesome.
Meeting you at the Friendship Festival was a good day out there, eh?
Wonderful. Niagara Music Awards.
It's great to meet somebody that's also passionate about the local bands.
Yeah.
And seeing, X Prime's on the verge of winning a popularity contest with the radio station and TO, and it's so great to see them come home after they make it, but it's even better to see them make it when they've been at home for
Right.
too long, you know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
thanks for your work out there, brother. We'll check in a few months.
Perfect. Thank you
All
so
right, my
much.
brother. He is Shane Christopher Neal. I am Jim Fannon, filling in for KJ. After this, trying to sell your house private? We'll hit that right before Straight Talk with Alex Pierson comes up at 6 o'clock. She's with Sun News Network right here on 610 CKTB.
It's the Kevin Jack Show, only on the One Voice for Niagara. News Talk 610 CKTV. Got something to say to KJ? Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text your opinion to 61010.
o'clock. I am Jim Fannon, coming for KJ today. Time is 5:50 on the button. We're here till 7 o'clock, broadcast live. Coming up on the show, Alex Pierson's coming in at 6 o'clock. She's with Sun News Network. We're going to have a conversation with her, mostly political. Do a little bit of that here. I'm talking a lot about the music scene, or the festival scene. Now we're switching it up to real estate. I don't talk real estate on this show very often, but I got some stats here for you, too. The average sale price in Niagara now up to $252,315. That's up 4.6% than it was last year at this time. Days on the market decreased from 61 to 56. That's a good thing. I usually quote like market time around 90 days. That was in the freehold market. And the condominium market, average market time went down from 83 to 59. That's pretty significant. It's all coming out from the Niagara Association of Realtors. They're quoting May stats. July's will be out soon. But just check out the way it breaks down by area. Fort Erie, average sale price, May 2014. Wow, it went down from last year to $214,715 from $217K in May of 2013. Average sale price. So you got an overall average in Niagara, a 252. And then we got Fort Erie, 214. Fawn Hill, Pelham, 362. Lincoln, 341. This is average sale price for May 2014. Niagara Falls is at 230. Niagara-on-the-Lake, 470. Port Colborne, Wayne Fleet, 222. St. Catharines proper at 237. And Thorold, look at Thorold. Up from 229 to 267 in 1 year. Jeez. Thorold's market's seen a huge spike since speculators started swooping down and scooping every backsplit 2-story bungalow and side split known to man and jamming 100 students each in it if it's close to the Brock University. And then Welland's coming in at 200 even. Average sale price up from 184. Looking pretty good. Realtor friend of mine snuck into a presentation not long ago. Sell your house private. Save the commission. They claim 67% success rate. What? 60. I've only been doing this 25 years or so. I mean, you probably have a little bit more success rate now than you used to in a tough market. It's tough to sell your house privately. Only because the agents know about you. And then they try and, upsell you at the counter. Oh, you want to be on MLS? Oh, sure. I want to be MLS. I want all the agents to know about me. Wrong. You'll be on MLS, all right. You'll be on realtor.ca. You'll have a listing there, but you won't be in the St. Catharines, well, we used to call the St. Catharines District Real Estate Association, now known as the Niagara Association of Realtors. We merged, except we took all the players with us. So St. Catharines, Welland, Niagara Falls merged together, became one association. We got about 1,000 realtors here in Niagara, called the Niagara Association of Realtors. And when a realtor logs into their database, it's secured with a code, and you got to have a license. As soon as your license expires, they kick you off. Your codes don't work anymore. And they got this really cool thing that monitors your typing, so you can't even give your codes out, they say, because it tracks how you type in your password, and it'll boot you out. I've never seen that happen yet. So you'll go on MLS, you just won't be MLS in your local area. You might be in Kingston, Toronto, or North Bay or somewhere in Ontario. You'll be entered into an MLS system, and that will get you exposure on realtor.ca, which is the public website for everyone that's listed MLS. But the problem is your local realtors don't know it. And every time I do a lot of business with privates, always have. Because 85% of the time they fail and they call a realtor. So if you help them out in the beginning, lots of times they call you. But that's my experience, 85% failure rate. So they get you with the MLS. Your listing is MLS. Well, it is and it isn't. It's on realtor.ca, which is the realtor site for MLS listings, except the real estate agents don't go there. The public goes there. You'll get some traffic. Don't get me wrong, but trust me. Doing this for as long as I've done it for, people never buy what they call on, whether it's the internet, whether it's an ad, whether it's an open house. No one ever buys the open house they look at. They never buy the house they call on. Never. Open houses, advertising, MLS listings on realtor.ca is designed to what? Find buyers, not to sell houses. Agents sell houses. And if you're private right now, here's a tip. The best thing you can do to sell your house is offer to cooperate with an agent and pay him. I don't mean listing your house. I mean offering a selling broker commission to a buyer that comes in and represents, to a buyer's agent that comes in and represents his buyer, gives you customer service. You can still pay him. You don't need an agency agreement to pay him. In fact, how we design our listings, or how I design my listings, is I inflate the hell out of my selling broker commission. I take my normal rate that I always used to get in real estate. It's reasonable. And I've been known to cut to make a deal go together. But when everyone else is offering 2.5% listings to the selling broker, I was offering 3.5%, and now I put it to 4%. And I tell my people, there's not one of my clients. When I say to my clients, listen, if I get you full pop, would you pay the selling broker 4% instead of 2%? Almost every time they just say, yeah, right, you're going to get me full pop. Yeah, I'd pay an extra 0.5% or an extra 1.5 or an extra point to get full pop. The MLS exposure is key, though. That's where all the agents find out about you. And don't be fooled by flashy ties and slick salesmen and 67% success rates quoted. Best thing you can do is offer to cooperate with your selling broker. Just say, agents welcome. Perfect. But ultimately, you got to get on the MLS system locally. The only way to do that is to list and pay a pimp to sell your house. Coming up next. Got news at the top of the hour. Alex Pierson does Straight Talk with Alex Pierson on Sun News Network. I call it Sun TV. Sun News Network. SNN in Toronto. Alex Pierson. Get her on the phone next for a couple segments. Talk a little bit of politics. I'm Jim Fannon. For Kevin Jack right here on 610 CKTB.
Broadcasting live from the CKTB studios in Niagara. It's the Kevin Jack Show.
Here come the hot stepper. I'm the lyrical gangster. Dial emergency number. Still love you like that.
Call now. 905-688-2582. 1-877-610-2582.
Yeah, man.
Or text Kevin with your thoughts and opinions at 61010.
Welcome back. I am Jim Fannon, filling in for KJ, closing out the week with you here on your drive home. Thanks for checking us out. Make sure to hit us up on the website, 610cktb.com. Find all the podcasts there. Click on it. My next guest, Straight Talk with Alex Pierson. She's with Sun News Network. I love Sun News Network. When I'm looking to get amped up a little bit. I always turn it, and Ezra Levant's always on. But my next guest has got great things to say about Ezra Levant, but we're talking to Alex Pierson next. just had a baby not too long ago, and I don't know if you've ever heard this. We're going to play this clip for you right here. Accidentally announces after watching a funny Budweiser commercial with her co-host live on Sun TV. When they came back, she was wiping tears off her face. And just listen how this went, and then we'll go to Alex.
We told you we were going to watch a Budweiser commercial in the break, and we watched the Budweiser commercial in the break. It was very heart-rendering, and she starts to cry.
I did. It was sad. Anyway.
And I started laughing at her, so our apologies for not keeping it together.
The floor crew and everyone else thought the ad was funny, and I'm the only one who cried. So
no, you were funny. Getting so emotionally wrapped up in a horse story.
I'm hormonal, for God's sakes, Pat. I'm pregnant.
It's the weekend.
Okay. Nonetheless, yes, by the way, I'm pregnant. Yes, that's why we were laughing, crying, and not getting through that segment.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, and by the way, I'm pregnant. Alex, thanks for making the time. I really appreciate it. Tell me about that little episode.
You know, I worked right up until I basically delivered, and
you look great. You don't look pregnant at all in that clip. You look just like you do now.
Yeah,
Did you gain any weight?
By the death, but nonetheless, no one knew. And we were talking right before the Super Bowl. I'm a horse lover. I'm an animal lover, and so during the commercial break, we were trying to figure out something to talk about. So I knew the Budweiser commercial was on my computer. I watched it, but during the commercial, I started to cry. And Pat looked at me and he goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I was so emotional, and he couldn't stop laughing, which then made me laugh. But then we were on air, and everyone's like, get it together. And I'm on air, and we're trying to talk about it and explain it, and I just didn't know what to say. So I said, I'm hormonal. And then I realized, oh my God, my viewers don't know. I'm not hormonal. I'm not crazy. I'm pregnant.
Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant, by the way.
Yeah.
So your coworkers knew. It was just the public that didn't know.
Pretty much.
Alex Pierson is my guest. She's with Sun News Network. Now, Alex, I want to touch on, I mean, you've got corporate overlords. I've got them. Corporate media is centralizing, it seems, like the ownership groups are thinning. There's a fewer number of players in the news media business, and this is a business, news media, and make no mistake about that. It's certainly a business. How do you see the centralization in the corporate's hands, and do you think it's affecting the news that we see?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been really lucky. I've been lucky with the places I've worked. I've worked at 2 startup stations now, one out west and one here at Sun News. And I've been in the game long enough that I've kind of seen it when it's not corporate, the good old days, probably like you. And I feel like at Sun News right now, I'm kind of in the good old days because we're not super corporate. We're really kind of still very organic, growing. But, you know, when I was at City TV, it was becoming more corporate, global TV becoming more corporate, where news was becoming more and more sanitized. It was kind of going in the direction of infotainment. And here I am at Sun News, this brand new kind of fledgling political station, which is, you know, apparently very controversial with folks like, you know, Ezra Levant and outspoken folks talking about politics from a completely different side of the perspective. And we don't really have rules at our station. So it's a really kind of neat experience right now. But you're right, it is business. But the business is changing, and it's getting harder and harder to do. And it's getting harder and harder to compete for those almighty advertising dollars, and it's harder to make your mark, and it's harder to get the eyeballs on the channel, you know, competing with social media and the internet. The game's changing every day. So
you talk about Sun News like they're offering a fresh perspective to the news. Are you saying that we've only been hearing, you know, views from the left? Because I see, you know, Sun News seems to be pretty conservative and right of the spectrum. I mean, they report the news, don't get me wrong, but they certainly have that slant. So are you saying we only heard the left slant before outlets like Sun News came along?
I think so. You know, I'm not going to, you know, swipe my competitors. They do what they do, and I think they feel like they do it well. When I heard Sun News was coming to the air, because I loved Global. They treated me very well. I could have stayed there doing my thing. But I felt like this was an opportunity to kind of do something new and take a chance and be part of something very fresh. And I knew that their voice was going to be different. Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that up until we arrived, you were getting more of a left-leaning approach to news. And I felt it was vital that listeners and viewers, whether you hate us or not, or whether you agree with us or not, I think it's really important for listeners and viewers to see a different side of the story, because you simply, you know, when you're in the media, it's just so easy when you're with your colleagues. And I'll take, you know, Queen's Park and coverage of like the provincial election, for instance. It's easy to kind of get stuck in that fishbowl where you're all kind of doing the same thing and swimming in the same direction. And that's what tends to happen. And so when we came along, we started seeing it from a different perspective and telling it from a different perspective. And I think this latest provincial election was kind of evident of that, where, you know, you were getting one opinion the whole way through, and then there was us kind of poking the bear the whole time, saying, no, that's not it. And we were pretty hard on the Liberals. We were going after them, you know, pretty much exposing their record. Voters didn't listen.
No, they did not provincially anyways. And we'll talk about the federal situation coming up. But just in our conversation earlier, I asked you what really lights you up. Or, I mean, you describe yourself as a news chick. I think that's so cool. And, you know, you come from a kind of a background of crime and court, city and regional and provincial, all that. And now you seem to be right in the middle of the political world. We talked a little bit about honor, accountability, and politics, and that was one that was at the top of your list as gripes. How do you see the situation both federally and provincially right now?
I'll start provincially. Provincially, I don't think there's any honor in politics right now. There's very few that I actually really kind of admire. You know, they've got this title, the Honorable, you know, Joe Blow. I mean, they just don't live up to that. And I think, you know, they work for us. And I think the taxpayers of this province, I think they forget about that sometimes. I think they're really jaded right now because they're not inspired by anybody. But I try to remind people, these folks work for you. And you can't be loyal to any one of these people. And when they behave badly and when they don't do a good job, you've got to get rid of them. And, you know, Tim Hudak took a pretty hard ride. I saw it. I'm one of the few. I thought he ran a decent campaign. He ran the campaign that he was asked to run, to step up and be something. I think he made some missteps, obviously, with throwing out some hard numbers. But he ran a decent and clean and honest campaign. And I felt Kathleen Wynne ran a pretty ugly campaign. She had the unions backing her. There was a lot of fear-mongering going on with the advertising. But the electorate listened to that, and they were swayed by that, obviously. You know, and now that we're looking behind, you know, 2020, all the information's coming out. You know, we're looking at a credit downgrade for the province, and Don Drummond's coming out saying, you know, we're going to lose 100,000 public sector jobs, and all these things that he campaigned on. Well, it looks like it might happen. So I look at the provincial scene, and I'm not inspired by too much right now, especially given we went through 11 years under McGuinty with all the allegations of corruption and scandal and you know, dishonesty with rising taxes and so on and so forth. So I'm not too inspired by that gang. Federally, you know, it's an interesting game. I don't know your thoughts on it, but we're going into a federal election with one candidate who's trying to ride the orange crush and salvage what they can. He's up against this newcomer, Justin Trudeau, who's this shiny new kind of handsome
Jewel.
Well, you said it.
He's
I'll
pretty.
let you say it. And Stephen Harper, a guy who's been in charge now for a while. Some say they're tired of it and we need a change. But I've got to say, while he's not perfect, I think he's done a pretty good job steering the ship in this country. So it'll be real. I think the next federal election is going to be fascinating.
Alex Pierson is my guest. She's with Sun News Network. We're going to hold her over for another segment here. We'll talk a little bit more about the Moody's downgrade. Who Alex thinks still has a little bit of honor, if anyone left in politics. We'll talk about that bag of hammers, Justin Trudeau. And my favorite, I want to get her take on Anon Troll, as I call it. The anonymous posters on the Sun News Network internet sites. We'll touch that and more after this on The Kevin Jack Show. I'm Jim Fannon on 610 CKTB.
It's The Kevin Jack Show, only on the one voice for Niagara, News Talk 610 CKTB. Got something to say to KJ? Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text your opinion to 61010.
Welcome back. I'm Jim Fannon from KJ. Wrapping it up for the week here till 7 o'clock. Alex Pierson's on the phone with me now. She's with Sun News Network. Alex, thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you actually get the name right, because you're about one of everybody who gets the name right. Everyone calls it Sun TV. Sun News Network.
Sun News Network, absolutely. We joked about that earlier. I think a lot of people lovingly refer to it as Sun TV. But Alex Pierson is my guest. Your favorite interview and your dream get?
I don't know if I have a dream.
Flat-footed. There's a first.
Yeah.
It's tough being on the other side of the interview, huh?
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've loved to do would be out in the field. My best get, I don't know. I had a pretty fun interview with Jack Layton right before he passed away.
He's a pretty straight interview.
He is a pretty straight interview, but it was an interview where I knew that it was the last time I'd see him. And It wasn't the Jack Layton I remember, because I covered Jack Layton in city council, this brash, bold guy, mouthy, kind of tough guy. Not always the friendliest.
Yeah, he's a fighter.
I knew at that moment, seeing him on the campaign, that I was interviewing someone who would not be around. And it was it was the one thing no one talked about during that campaign, was that Jack Layton was in serious condition. So I'd say that was one interview that kind of caught me off guard. I don't know. I haven't really been bowled over by anybody of late.
Honest answer.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you, Maddie Van Stone pulled me over. Little girl, 12 years old, trying to get life-saving medication. She and her mom.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you probably heard that story. She's trying to get this extraordinarily expensive medicine, Kalydeco, which was not covered by OHIP. And she and her mom, on their own, fought the system and forced the government to change that provincial law, and they've now got coverage. But without the drug, she would have died. So that little girl really kind of tugged at my heartstrings.
Yeah, the kids really blow you away. Now, I want to get to this just in case. I know you just got a little bit of time for us here, but Anon Troll, as I lovingly refer to as the anonymous posters. Now, see, I thought it was just unique when Sun came in and brought up the standard here as OpsRe Media when they took over OpsRe's papers. Mm-hmm. That's when I started to notice it. Now, we have a small community, 130,000, which I know you're aware of. Mm-hmm. And when the people post there, it's negative, it's hate filled, there's hardly any truth involved, and I thought it was unique to my small little market. So I go to my the head of the paper down here, and I'm like, dude, just rip it down. He's like, no. And then I realized, okay, no, Sun Media, Quebec Corps ultimately owns this, and then I start hitting around. I start LA Times, New York Times, but all the posts and all through the states. All these supposedly reputable media companies have places for people to comment anonymously. I thought YouTube changed it. I remember the HuffPost came out at some point. I thought they were going to take it down. Turned out they said, no, you just have to sign in. What's your take on anonymous posting? You think it's necessary, or is it destructive?
I don't read it, to be honest with you. I stopped Googling myself a long time ago. I don't like to read it. I think people have become really, really mean. Social media has made people really quite ugly. I call them keyboard bullies. So I tend not to read them, or I kind of ignore them. You've got to have a pretty thick skin, especially when you're a network like Sun News, because we do poke the bear. And so if you're going to give, you've got to be willing to get. I mean, I get my share. Ezra Levant, I don't know what his skin is made of, because they come after him and they are so vicious. I don't understand when it became, a bad thing to have different opinions and be respectful about it. I mean, you've seen my...
That's a great point.
You've seen my posts on Facebook. I am who I am, and I welcome all opinions, unless they're really hate-filled, then I don't accept them. But, you're allowed to say what you want, and I don't have to agree with it, but I'll certainly respect it, and I'll let you say it. But I don't agree with it. And I just don't understand why it's kind of going down that road. And I hope at some point we kind of come back the other way, because it's just becoming so easy for people just to post and not realize there's someone on the other end of that's reading that. My son one day is going to look up his mommy. He's going to be thinking, why do so many people hate my mommy? My husband, he sees some of the things people say, and I have to say to him, don't worry about it, because he gets so upset, because he knows me on a completely different level.
Right.
Than the keyboard bully. So it's upsetting, for my family, but I stopped paying attention a long time ago. You just can't. Otherwise, it would eat you alive.
So do you feel like there's a necessity for that anonymous posting? A friend of mine says, oh, you know what? Coming up through the ranks years and years ago, if you couldn't say something anonymously, you were dead. So there's a function for it. I see it in my small little town and go, you know what? Nothing good is getting solved here. There's no good ideas coming out of the bullying that goes on anonymously.
Those who have something to say intelligently and want to own it,
rare.
Put their names on. They'll put their names on it, and they'll put their face to it. Anyone who posts anonymously, I mean, who are they? I mean, right. I look at them and kind of think, you must be a big loser or a very lonely person in life who obviously isn't very happy. I mean, if you've got something to say, own it. I say lots of things that offend people. But you know what? My name's Alex Pierson, and that's my picture.
And you
at
know
least
where
I
to find
own it.
me.
Yeah, I just don't believe that, walk the walk. If you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. So I don't have much time for it, but do they have the right to say it? Yeah, I mean, I do believe in freedom of speech.
Alex Pierson is my guest, a self-described news chick and a conservative, however, not a loyal one. How do you feel about the possibility of Justin Trudeau leading this country?
I assure you I will not be casting a vote for Justin Trudeau.
Well,
Look, I
do you
tend to
feel
vote
like Harper's on
conservative.
shaky ground? Do you think that this jewel, this shiny, good-looking hair has got enough game? I mean, you got to be worried about the polls.
No, I don't follow polls too much. I really don't. But I'll tell you, don't underestimate the liberal machine. Obviously, look what just happened in the provincial election. I mean, you can have OPP investigations, you can have scandal, you can have high taxes.
And Toronto will re-elect you.
And Toronto is... They don't. I don't know if they don't read the news. I don't know if they don't care. I don't know if it's that they're so rich that this stuff doesn't affect them, but they just don't get it. And I looked at the provincial election and I said, boy, we have lowered the bar so low in politics to accept that as a government. Nonetheless, do I vote conservative? Yes. I mean, it would be very hard to get me to steer away from it. Justin Trudeau, but don't underestimate him. He's got a very powerful ground game. People look at him as a rock star. He's got this ability to kind of schmooze. But when you get him one-on-one, if you get him off script, it's those moments that you see how ill-prepared he is. I mean,
He's his mother's son, not his father's.
He is. He's not his father's son. He's you're absolutely right. He's in oil country. He's at the Stampede right now. And today he talked about, I don't know if he was off script, I don't know if he meant to, but he talked about a cap and trade. Who talks about cap and trade in the energy, capital of the country? He's talking about, he's basically saying, even though Canada has pretty good emissions, he's going to cap and trade this energy, which could make us a superpower. And those comments that he says, I mean, that should be getting him in trouble. Calling Chinese, honoring Chinese dictatorships and saying that you envy them. I mean, these are the things that come out of his mouth when he's off script. He says some really stupid things. So I think right now he's got a good game. I think right now people are enamored by him. But I think once it gets into election campaign mode, and whether you like Mulcair or not, he's a smart guy. Stephen Harper is a smart guy. And I think when you see him go up against those guys in the debates, you're going to see a completely different guy.
Great point.
Justin Trudeau's policies, of what little we know about them, are a lot of the narrative is wrong, not factual, but it doesn't make sense. And it's certainly not good for this country. We'd be looking at some very high taxes in this country if he gets in.
Alex Pierson, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for coming in, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
I will do. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh,
Have
my
a great
pleasure.
weekend, guys.
Cheers. Alex Pierson is an anchor on Sun News Network. Straight talk with Alex Pierson. She's got some takes, some opinions, educated ones too. Love her take on Justin Trudeau. Get that kid off the script. You got a bag of hammers. Okay, enough of that. We're going to hit local stuff coming up on the other side of this. I'll take your takes on who's going to be mayor right here on 610 CKTV. Sorry, Patrick.
It's the Kevin Jack Show, only on the One Voice for Niagara. News Talk 610 CKTV. Got something to say to KJ? Call now. 905-688-2582. 1-877-610-2582. Or text your opinion to 61010.
I've made one mistake in my life. I should have burned Berlin down. And now the drugs are slowly wearing off. And your smile looks more like a frown.
Welcome back. A beautiful Friday afternoon to you. I am Jim Fannon, filling in for KJ today, who's filling in for Tim, Tom. Everyone's on vacation. Patrick running the board. PMS is in the house. We're the last two of the skeleton crew to hit it for the weekend. Hope you're having a fine, safe drive home. Next segment, we'll hit on the local topics and take your calls if you have any. Who do you like for mayor? Senzik's in, Secord's in, Birch is in, Stevens is in. There's another guy. Arsenault is in, okay. What do you like from Mayor at the next segment? And this is a short segment. We ran a little bit long. With Alex Pierson from Sun News Network. My thanks to her for coming in and Straight Talk. Talk about Straight Talk. That was Straight Talk with Alex Pierson. Look forward to touching her up again soon. Got a 1-year-old boy at home. It's funny on a pre-interview talking about how she's agnostic. Her husband's Jewish. And how she's got a few religious people at the station, let's say. Nice mix. So in the next segment, we'll touch on nice light topic on your way out for the weekend. Who do you like for mayor? Sunday, coming up on the Jim Fannon Show at noon till 1. We go live right here. A couple really interesting guests are coming up. First of all, you know we always do live music here on the Jim Fannon Show on Sundays. Drew Comerford's been running the board for a few weeks, a couple months now, actually. Doing a nice job getting a feel for the show. Dave Jones was over here before that. Takes him a little while to figure out, how I roll, how to mic these guys up when they're playing live. We got 2 mics in the producer's studio that get swung around on the other side of the desk so that the producer actually can't use them. And then the band comes in. They bring whatever sound they need to make the room sound good, and they play for a couple mics, and it's been working out really nice. Rod Standish is in this week. This guy has got to be the biggest hippie, and you're probably thinking, oh, yeah, Jim, you got nothing but hippies on your show, you big hemp head. Actually, a lot of the acts that have come in aren't hippies, but this guy is a straight up. It's not a bad thing to be a hippie, is it? I love hippies. Grabbed a cameraman and walked across Canada in 2009. Did I read earlier 6,400 kilometers? And he dipped his guitar in the Atlantic Ocean. And he's got a world record for playing the guitar 58 hours straight. You can catch him on Taps. Actually, you can catch him tonight at Taps, now that I think about it. He's been doing a Friday night gig down at Taps. Taps is stepping up in a big way in the local music scene. Eric, the owner down there, Eric Martin, is it? We'll get that right. Rod Standish is playing tonight. I think tonight he's doing album cover live. And tonight's Led Zeppelin. I'm pretty sure. But every Friday night for a few weeks, you can see Standish down at Taps. And he's going to be playing the bumper music on Sunday with me in the booth here. And as usual, we do an open, a couple segments with a guest, and then the last segment is with the musical talent. So we get to talk to him on the way out. This week, my guest is Rita Carey Fournier. Rita Carey, I guess we should say first, is the sister of Jim Carey, who's got a movie coming up. And I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, what's your brother? What's he doing these days? And have the interview be all about Jim Carey. She says, no, I'm fine with it. She's got a book coming out, Growing Up Carey. I guess her brother's in the book. Talked to her a little bit today, doing a pre-interview conversation on the phone. Local talent here, used to be with a local radio station, had her own show. I think she was Rita Fournier. She's got the Rita Carey Band. They play classic rock and Grand Funk, Beatles, and all that kind of stuff. Her book's coming out, Growing Up Carey. I said, well, what do you want to hit on? What do you want to talk about? She says, well, Jim's got a movie coming up in October, Dumb and Dumber 2. I love Jim Carrey. I don't think I've seen a Jim Carrey movie I wasn't fond of. And my buddy's kid accused me of looking like him about 20 years ago. Thanks, Alex, I think. So Rita Carey will come in. We'll talk about that upcoming movie of Jim's coming out and what getting together with the family looks like in the Carey family. She says usually they don't sleep for a day. And get it all out of the system. So Rita Carey will be coming up Sunday. That's at noon. We go to 1 o'clock. Rod Standish plays live in the booth. Last segment. We'll go out with a light one. We'll take your phone calls. I know I'm not heavily requesting you to call all that often. We run a lot of interviews here. But if you got a take on who's running for mayor, who you're voting for, who you like, who you don't like, we'll do that next right here on the Kevin Jack Show. I'm Jim Fannon on 610 CKTV.
the Kevin Jack Show, only on the one voice for Niagara, News Talk 610 CKTV. Got something to say to KJ? Call now, 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-2582, or text your opinion to 61010.
I waited for a girl like you to come and save my life. All the days I
Welcome back. I'm Jim Fannon. Thanks for checking us out. Honored to fill in for KJ today while he fills in for Tim and next week. And we got vacation. Crazy. So thanks for sticking with us and checking us out. I am Jim Fannon. You can check us out Sunday at noon. All right. Teased who's coming up this week. A couple texts from you from earlier. Way earlier. Thank you. Sorry. Jim, I'm on. Tune in every day listening to you guys. Some of us are into it. Ryan from the Falls. Thank you. The other ones are unreadable. 905-688-2582. If you want to get in on who's running for mayor, what your choices are. A Facebook message here regarding Alex Pierson's interview with me. Sun News are a corporation and sing the corporate mantra. Call her on that, Jimmy. And he goes on, they give platforms to oil company stooges like Levant. They're owned by Quebecor, a giant media corp. Thanks for that. And then Alex comes back by text and says, by the way, B.B. King was my favorite interview. Talk about a cool guy. And that is a cool news chick, even though she works for Sun. 905-688-2582, 1-877-610-CKTB, pound 610 on the Bell Mobility Network, 610-10 to text. Who do you like for mayor? Went down to Walter Senzik's launch the other day at the Polish Legion on Vine Street. Nicely done. The guy can speak. He's got it nailed. Probably better than any of the other candidates running for mayor. Walter Senzik can stand and deliver. I'll give him that. I'm going to keep an open mind, even though I have my leanings, I have my favorites. You see guys out in the community, you see them working, and it kind of build up a judgment on them, if you will. I'm going to keep an open mind only because it's so early right now, but it occurs for me that Birch is almost halfway down the race, it seems, sprinting. Secord is still in the blocks, hasn't done a damn thing yet. It's too early, he says. And Senzik launches. Well, I saw he spoke the other day somewhere. Steve Cook said, great speech. I don't know where it was or what he said. Starting out a little late, but it is still early. And he stays with the Chamber of Commerce, which I'm not a big fan of. I think if there is the perception of an abuse of power, such as being the GM of the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, and you're planning events and sending out email blasts. I mean, the notice about him running for mayor went out twice. I get that it went out once. But then 5 days later, dated 5 days earlier, it went out again. So I'm just like, you know what? It looks like you could abuse the position. So he's not going to do public events. I don't know. I just would have felt better if he had to step down. Why stay in? The place can run without you, know? Build up an organization like that. Certainly the GM can step away and let the chair or somebody on staff, take a leading role. So since it's coming out, he's saying all the right things. Secord's saying nothing other than it's too early and no, my platform's ready, but you can't see it yet. That's brilliant. And then he turns down a full hour on the radio. Peter, who does that? Tommy had Birch in, Tommy had Senzik in, and Tommy did not have Secord in. I want a mayor that is a salesman. I want a mayor that can speak. I want a mayor that goes out and says nothing but positive things about St. Catharines. I want a mayor that when he goes to the conferences, the AMOs and the FCMs and all this kind of stuff, that when he leaves that conference, every single politician at that conference knows who St. Catharines is and knows who's the top of the governance there. I think that's what we need. We need a salesman. We need somebody that can stand and deliver. And once in a while, we need a guy to say, BS. I call BS on you guys. And I'd love it if he wasn't in the pocket of some of these local businesses. Talked about this earlier on the show, or many times on the show. Municipal contributions to campaigns, whether they be for councillor or for mayor, are not tax deductible except if you run a business. That's crazy. I don't know if you probably have to go to the province to change that, but Toronto did it. If you give a municipal councillor $100 in Toronto, I think you get $30 back on your tax return. Provincially and federally, I think it's 75% of the first $400. So if I give you $400, I get $300 back on my tax return. That takes big business out of it, I think. It's got to be affordable for people, the everyday citizen, the people that vote. Companies don't vote. So I'd like to see somebody come up with some democratic issues as well. How about term limits? Maybe not, again, probably not within the municipal jurisdiction, but no one else is talking about it. And you've had these guys hanging around for decades and decades and just get reelected on their name recognition. I'm like, you know what? At the municipal level, you get 3 terms. You get your act together in 3 terms or get out. Run for something else. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Alex Pierson for coming in. Shane Neal came in. He has bsliverocks.com. Kind of interesting. Thanks to PMS for running the board. Sunday at noon. Check out Jim Carrey's sister, Rita Carey. We're going to talk about everything Carey. We talk about her band, her inspirations, her book, her friends in Parliament that want her to run for office, and she keeps telling them, forget about it. That. Rod Standish is going to play us some live bumper music. We'll get an interview with him at the end. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, before meeting this guy, he's got to be one of the biggest hippies in Niagara. All that and more on this Sunday Jim Fannon Show, live right here at noon. I'm Jim Fannon for Kevin Jack. Have yourself a great weekend. I am out.